Good morning and welcome to Friday Live. I am on location working off of a Microsoft Edge laptop, and so there's a big long delay and not necessarily, it'll probably be a little problematic. So bear with me today. I don't know if anybody guessed where I was going on location to, but just to be clear, I am not in all right, so I am not in Oklahoma. And I have big long delays, so you have to bear with me. Let's run through our footballs here, and we have Lynn McCurdy gets the cookie. Ethan Armitage showed up. Hello. 3Dub, Stephen, Wigwag Workshop is here with us this morning. Welcome. And JD, as always, is here. And let's see. That's Grandpa Rails, for those who don't know. He's here. Of course, my sidekick, John, and John is here and was able to join us today after telling me he couldn't be able to make it. Our audio check person, John Schuylkill Valley, is here. Who else? Who am I missing? Floyd runs his trans from Ontario. I think that is it for now. So again, bear with us. I'm using a camera that I don't normally use. I'm using the internal microphone to the camera, so audio may. I'm at a place with a bad internet connection. I'm on wireless. Anything and everything that can negatively affect a live stream is happening today, okay? So I didn't see any guesses as to where I am at. All right. And so, thank you, John, on the audio check, by the way. Where am I? Anybody? Any guess? Yeah, I sound like Max Headroom. Yep, I don't doubt it. Hey, Robert! I was reading what you said and didn't look to see who said it. So, welcome. All right. So, let's go ahead. Since there's no guesses yet, let's go ahead and bring on my sidekick first. Welcome, John. And of course, John is attending from the great state. There we go. How you doing, John?
Another rainy day here in eastern Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, it's a little overcast and drizzly here too. All right, and of course we can't leave the train free Jason in the basement forever. So let's bring Jason up.
And I'm riding on the cotton belt railroad line in the pigeon rolling rhythm and noise.
Good morning, fellas.
All right, welcome. Yeah, cool.
So
And,
I know where you're at, but I
so
promise
it's-
not to tell.
yeah, Jason guessed.
Oh, I guessed it right away.
He guessed that. Let me get back. Banicki is with us this morning as well. I don't think anybody else snuck in. Nope, that's it. Okay. So because of the audio, the technical issues that I think are going to happen, I'm going to run some calls of my own first. Okay? And we all I can't stress enough how appreciative I am of Lynn, this 280 consolidation. All right. So I've got that with me here today. So that's kind of a hint I'm somewhere where I can run a DC locomotive. Okay. So, and also
Andy.
last weekend, I think it was last weekend, or it may have been right after last week's live stream, I was on eBay, which is never a good thing. And I saw a, hey, Andy, I'm into, anyway, I saw this CB&Q Blackbird schemed SD7 on there for like $48 with DCC, no sound, but with DCC, and it was a Proto 2K. I'm going, there's got to be something wrong with it, but I'll do one of those. I'll do one of those last second. Yeah, Robert says he knows I'm not there, but Robert, it isn't out of the question for me to show up there someday. Probably not in the too distant future, or JD's. So anyway, the so essentially there's got to be something wrong with it. But I put a low ball last second bid in on it, and lo and behold, I won it.
Hey, JD.
And it's in perfect shape. I can't see anything wrong with it. It came with detailed parts. I put some of those on, the ones that were applicable to the CB&Q. So I'm real at that. But that wasn't the only locomotive I saw. There was another 464, okay, which configuration is, but without the. It was $45, $46, something like that. So I put a last second on it. That is.
So did Steve just freeze?
And again, it's a Riviossi. No, I take it back. It's a Mahano. It's a Mahano.
Steve, I think your camera froze up on us.
And same thing. Basically.
I think he did.
So Floyd thinks I am at Sparky's Meet and Greet.
Floyd's catching flies.
Well, let's see.
Oh, yeah.
No.
It does look like it, Floyd. It absolutely looks like it right now. Hey, Anthony, Opa, what's going on? Yeah, Steve's video feed froze up. And John got muted again. So I guess There's John. Well, John is still muted. I can't hear John. So for everyone, this is going to be a show where we have to, you have to use your imagination of what's being said. Oh, okay. So Jason is taking over. All right, that's what they're saying in the chat.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now, Sidekick. And Steve has left the building.
I see my
Mid electrocution by the looks. Oh man. So does anybody have a guess to where Steve is at? Where is Steve Childers?
I don't know. He may be coming on.
You may be coming on.
All right, so I'm back. I'm here. So hang
Floyd
tight, guys.
We'll
kind of solve this problem. I'm sorry?
Yeah, Floyd Robbins wanted to know, how did the flies taste?
Floyd Robbins wants what?
He wanted to know, how did the flies taste? Because when your video was stuck, your mouth was wide open.
I don't know.
So he thought you were catching flies.
Okay. That's a little too bit to know. Hey, Dwight. Hey, Anthony. Hey, Dwight.
Hey, the Master Stooge is out.
In a minute.
Tuna can Dwight.
One of the other things I got, I watched, I think it was SMT was doing some, SMT mainline, was doing some repairs. It always had this little pin, all right, clean up commutators. And I guess they're fiberglass, and you can clean up the commutator on promoters or other contacts, as an example. So
It's not working.
it's not working.
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
I'm not showing those on mine. Okay, let's. Okay.
Let me change settings.
Audio.
All right, so anybody got a guess where Steve's at now?
To the mic on the camera.
Okay, now can you hear us?
Well, go ahead and have Steve cut his laptop off. Now that you are sitting together.
Yeah, I can go back over there and show off. So hang tight.
Okay.
Okay. So
JD
I
said
got
run.
these pins. I have 3 of them. So problem for John. Let me go turn mine on. Okay. But I won't have a microphone.
He's still locked up.
Okay, just a minute. Steve's turning off his. He's actually here. So.
No, John, you're supposed to let them
in a minute.
guess. They still haven't guessed it yet.
Got too many things. Yeah.
I mean, Robert just said that he's in Hawaii, so I guess you're in Hawaii with them.
He's shutting his down.
Yeah, pull your microphone down. You sound like you're a mile away.
Who? Me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Didn't you have your microphone in front of your face a second ago?
Yeah.
There we go. Now we're finally getting some guesses. So congratulations to everyone who said Tennessee. Smoky Mountains. There we go.
Yes.
Poor
Can
Robert.
you hear me now? Okay, now, Jason.
Your volume is still real low. Robert, yes, I did get that link.
Settings.
I did get that Amazon link. Yeah, poor Robert, after Steve got in the video with you, John, he still guessed Hawaii.
Uh-huh.
So I guess you live in paradise.
Hawaii, yeah.
Now he's still guessing Alaska.
I think it is Paradise myself, but how about now?
there
Can you
go.
hear me
Here's
better?
audio. Much better.
Okay. Yeah, I had my mic turned way down because of, Steve being in the other side of my layout. So now we all know he's in Tennessee. His son actually lives right by Murfreesboro or in Murfreesboro. So it's a short drive over here. So he was heading this way and decided to, no, not in Wyoming. Antarctica, no, it's cool here. It's not cold. It is misting rain, of course. This makes about 20 days of 21 days that we've had rain here. So now Steve's changing locations, and there we go. Now we're all together. We're on the mic from the video camera. So he's a lot taller than I am.
Okay, so yeah, that should work.
Okay.
But
Okay.
now, Steve
Now,
probably
to continue
hear-
my mail call.
What's that?
So can Steve hear me, or just you because you got?
Can you hear
headphones?
him?
Yeah, I hear. No, I still I just lowered myself into the basement.
Okay.
So my earbuds are still working.
Perfect.
And then sounds
Right.
coming over my video camera. Yeah.
I told you we'd get the technical issues straightened out. So, the real reason I came over here was because John kept telling me he's got me some stuff, but he hadn't gotten to the post office. And now I know why, since we're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
And I didn't see a post office.
Oh, right before you left Sparta.
So he has for me a Burlington gondola.
It still needs a lot of work.
Needs some work, but I'll fix it. And then a C and EI boxcar. He's given me two of these before.
It's got the wrong emblem on it for me. I can't use the buzzsaw. That's right when they were starting to merge with Missouri Pacific. So they had the buzzsaw from the Missouri Pacific, and that's too late for me.
And John had given me some magnifying goggles. So he found another set of lenses. So got that. And then he's got a buzzsaw CNEI hopper with load.
Oh, nice.
All right.
So
And all he got was this stinking pen.
well,
Hey, Andrew.
Have you ever tried those?
yes, I actually have a set.
Oh shit!
So we
Yeah.
got the
That
short
idea.
express in the house.
Yes.
But we're gonna
We got the engine and the caboose in the house.
No, shortbread
we're
express.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
we're gonna hook up. I brought my portable DCC command station and stuff, so we're gonna hook that up since he can't find his.
Well,
And well, he doesn't have all the parts.
I don't have all the connections.
Now, Steve, while
So-
you're there, are you going to straighten John out on that 20 amp power supply?
Funny you should mention that.
But you better tell all of that story.
I got here and the first words out of his mouth was, "We just had a power outage." I fired up the railroad and I didn't realize that the pool pump and the table saw out in the garage are on the same circuit. So when you powered up the layout, poof.
No, it's actually when my son powered up the table saw. Yeah.
Potato,
But that's more amperage than I'll ever run in this room with my layout. So I know that without the pool pump on and the table saw on, it will work.
Wow.
And you got to hold yourself the right way.
Well, that's the way my Wi-Fi is too. I got to hold myself the right way to get it all to work. So
good morning, 156 Andrew Shortbread Express.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Welcome.
And then John said that the locomotive.
So yeah, and I told John, I said, the last thing you ever should have said was that you had a power outage related to turning on the layout.
Yep.
But it wasn't related to turning on the layout. It was related to my pool pump and my table saw running at the same time as stuff in here. So I'll never have all that on together.
So the question is how many amps does the pool pump use, and how many amps does that table saw use? So
which are much.
How many amps of a power supply you can use and have all three on?
Yes. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. It's the first time it's happened. It's not. The pool pump's been on before when I've been running this, and it was no problem. I'd never had the table saw running along with the pool pump and stuff in here.
So how many locos did you have running?
I only had one running.
Only one loco was running.
Yeah, but the table saw and the pool pump that was probably it that did it, not the little stuff in here, because these lights are LED. They don't take a lot. Televisions, they're LEDs, so they don't take a lot. Computer probably takes more than the rest of the stuff running. But hey, I only have so many plugs. So y'all can just
kiss his ass.
Yes, Lynn, it's like Green Acres. Except my tractor works.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out whether it was what theme song I needed to put together in a hurry, Green Acres or Deliverance.
Deliverance.
Hey, now look, on this road where I live, the area right here is called Snob Hill, because we have the biggest, nicest houses. So at least I live in the good neighborhood.
John isn't originally from here, so he didn't understand that the rest of the people, the family trees did not fork.
And it's true, this whole area was owned by one person, and then they divided it up. But no, we only have my neighbor over here, and her father lives back up on that hill. But yeah, I got good neighbors here. It's nice. I finally was able to get the rest of my yard mowed. It was a mess because, as I said, 20 out of 21 days I've had rain here. I mean, it's just been wet, and yeah, the grass was growing. So, but yeah, it was good to get Steve here for the day or however long he can stand me. It's a lot like back when we going over to his house.
Exactly like that.
Every weekend, as my wife would formerly say.
Although it's kind of in reverse.
Yeah, it's in reverse this time.
Yeah, because John would always, well, what about this and what about that?
Yeah.
So now I get to play that role.
Yes. Yeah. So hopefully next Wednesday I'll have my Wi-Fi situated better. But couldn't get them out here before then. But I've got a lot of things that run on Wi-Fi here just because there's not connections all through the house. I just added 8 cameras Wi-Fi cameras to the house, so that
We are so far out in the middle of nowhere. Do they actually have cable connections?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know. There's a lot of places.
The box is in the living room.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Well, is it cable or is it satellite?
It's cable.
Okay.
It's cable to it. Yeah. So it's a 1 gig service. So I get it pretty good. It's just the house is a little bit larger than my house in Florida.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of walls in between me and where the original box is. So it taxes it. I've got them coming Wednesday. They're going to help me
drop
with
a Cat 5 in here? Or?
No, but they're going to give me another repeater. I've got one already, but I had to move it because the camera out on the shed didn't work.
No, Lynn, I am not.
Yeah. Until it gets better, Lynn. Yeah. But, it's things I've never run that much Wi-Fi, and you did have an old laptop. So.
My son and I are actually going to the PGA championship up at Valhalla, the final round on Sunday in Louisville. So
that's the real reason he came, not to see me. He just.
I came a day early so I could come here.
Okay.
Well, hey, John, at least he let you know he was in the area. He came through my area, and I didn't even hear a word.
Well, see, you're Jason in the middle, so that's why.
And it doesn't matter if I'm at work or not. I didn't hear a single word.
The middle child, But it's good to have Steve here. It's been, since before I moved, so that would have been.
Well, I've been promising you for a year and a half.
Yeah. Well, you said when I got my train shed. I got my train shed.
Well, yeah, you got a layout. You have an operating layout. So.
In DC. I'm still working on the other stuff. Still got a lot of droppers. Got a lot of droppers still hanging down from the old layout. Because those who don't know that my center section here was in my old train room in Florida. However, I was having trouble running my 210-2 around a 22-inch radius. Well,
now, is that actually the hole I cut?
Yeah, that's one we cut. Yeah. So
for the turntable.
Yes, that's in there now. It's not operational, but it's in there at least.
So what size is your turntable, John? Is it the 90, the 110, or the 130?
The 110.
110.
Yeah. I didn't need the 130.
And unless you're running a big boy or Challenger.
Or a Cat Ford.
Well, the CNEI had none of those, so no.
Yeah, the Cat Ford's an articulated one too, isn't it?
It's literally
it wouldn't fit on the
one axle shorter than a big boy. My Cat Ford's a 4882.
The 210-2s are Heath, you're right on top of things. All right.
Yes. We have a split camera. See, we're both in different places, but
it's just a backdrop.
Yeah, it's just a backdrop. Yeah, it's one of those add-in ones. Yes.
Is it John's birthday?
Guess so. Happy birthday, John.
I thought it was a few days ago.
No, it's every day's his
anyway,
birthday.
Happy birthday, John.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, John.
No, Heath, since you were late getting here, Steve came over to see me. Went right past Jason, didn't say a word, just came right over to see me. But yeah, it's good to get together again. We really had some great fun at Steve's layout.
For about 6-7 months until you abandoned me.
Yeah, well, I think it was more than that. It was at least a year.
What? So 6-7 months.
Okay.
From September to February?
Yeah, and even the dog likes Steve. He's coming over here to get rubbing and yeah. So, but no, it's fun to get together again. We really did have a great time at Steve's house. even though he was a poor conductor.
And that hadn't changed.
Well, no, but it's good.
Now, getting back to the turntable, the largest non-articulated U.S. locomotive was the 210-2. And John and I both have 210-2s, so, and they fit real well up on the 110. So
Okay.
Yeah. So and
all right, John Bannicky.
I just actually ran my 210-2 this morning. I had been looking for a blanking chip because I don't have my DCC running yet, and I wanted to run it to make sure it'd go around my curves. My sharpest curve now is 27 inches, and it will go around that no problem whatsoever. The outside of my double curves is 30-inch radius, and it does great on them. Except I'm running off of a $2 power pack that I got from Zitniks, and it heats up a little too quick, and the engine slows down. So I got to get my DCC running, and hopefully maybe we'll have a hook up to that before Steve leaves today. So.
I brought some tools.
Yeah, so it's a working visit.
Heath, I'm gonna get it done.
Heath, my last 2 years have been a little. Hey, what's your head there? My duck throughs unders are made for me, not for a taller person. So, I'm a little height limited, so they work fine for me.
Vertically challenged.
Vertically challenged, yes, thank you. John, have a good day. Well, it's
Hey,
narrow
Joe Rader's
here,
in the house.
Joe, how you doing? Joe, since you're late, if you haven't noticed, Steve is in Rocky Top, Tennessee with me. Yes.
So, because of the 20 amp power supply he has, I brought over
A proper power supply.
I brought over my 5 amp power supply and control station.
It worked fine at my old house, and I had the old fuse stats that screw in. So I would have known if I'd blown them. I couldn't just reset. Yeah, so it was all on the same circuit.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so we'll see. We'll see.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
Uh,
So I had actually no mail call this week, but Jason, I understand you had a haul.
Yeah, I've got a haul, and I got a couple of items in. Speaking of Joe Rader sent me a BlackRock Central gondola, and so it's out on the layout.
Oh, cool! Great.
But I did put a picture in the community page. It's really nice looking. He did a really good job on the removable scrap metal load that's in it, so I'm excited to start using that along with his. I got a reefer over there in staging, so that's my second BlackRock Central card.
Heath,
do what?
Go ahead. I'll type out a response to Heath.
Oh, for Heath, yeah.
Heath, I haven't gone back through and looked at the live stream chat to get that link that you sent. I did remember you sent it. I've been so busy this week that I haven't had a chance to go and check that out. Or if you want to post that in there again, if you remember it, that would be nice. Or I'll just look back. So either one, I appreciate that.
One of the other items I got this week, and now Robert is not the only one that has a brass caboose. Even though his are all painted, mine will get there one of these days. But I have a drover's caboose, and Cotton Belt
That
did
is
have
nice.
this is a Hallmark model, but the Cotton Belt classified them as the 2300 series. But yes, they did use drovers on. Yeah, woohoo! I came over to the dark side. Absolutely. But they used the drovers on their locals in my era because the locals would still carry passengers and some mail, not a lot. Where the mainline passenger, they only had one passenger train. It was an overnight train. And so in order for people to get along the line through, during the daytime, they had to ride the locals. So not a lot of seating, but it was there, but that's not the original purpose of the drover's caboose. The original purpose, which would have been back in like the early 1900s, those were built in 1920. Cattle ranchers, mainly up in Missouri and northern Arkansas, would load all of their cattle in stock cars. They would actually load the horses that they rode in the last stock car, and they would ride in the drover's caboose while the train took them to the market to sell all their cattle, and then they would, ride back.
Neat.
So this gives me my third drover's caboose. I've got two of the roundhouse before Athearn bought them. I've got two of the shorter ones, but this is like an actual prototype. And the Arkansas Railroad Museum or the Cotton Belt Historical Society actually just acquired a prototype of this. And so now the prototype is inside the museum. They're stripping all of the exterior wood off due to rot and replacing it. So one of these days I got to get back down to the museum and go take a look at it. But you can see it on their Facebook page. So now my hobby shop haul. So when Robert the Flying Crow came down and hung out with me, he is such a bad influence. Hey, Artie, what's going on? That I ended up buying a little bit more than I probably should have. But first thing I was a Bowser speaker housing. So I've got one of the new Bowser Alco RS3s. It's the Missouri Pacific one. And I got it DCC only because I did not want, or DCC ready. I did not want the decoder that came with it. I didn't want to pay that extra for that. So it didn't come with the speaker or the housing. So the hobby shop actually had one, and that's it right there. But what I'm going to do is take the sugar cubes out and put in Soundtrax's mini cubes because the wattage and the ohms is different. So sometimes you got to do
doesn't the Tsunamis or 2 amp?
Yes, 2 amp
decoders.
2 watt. Yeah. Well, the amplifier
2 watt,
is
2 watt. I'm sorry.
It's a 2 watt amplifier, and it is a 2 amp decoder. The next thing I got was I needed some more of these wall mount lights, goosenecks. So these are always great for outside of the building. Then I got some second shift workers.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
Cool.
So, and workers with a forklift.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now, okay, back the truck up. What year is your layout?
1958.
Cut the overhead guard off.
Okay, yeah. I could do that.
They didn't have them back then. I've got 2 forklifts that came with a kit that I'm gonna have to cut the roll cage off of it.
Yeah, they didn't come into being until the mid 70s, I think.
Yeah,
early to mid 70s.
But it's pretty cool. It's got like the side entrance on this style of forklift. So one side is solid. This side has an opening.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's,
then I got
truth be
3.
known, Robert. That's why I didn't stop in to see Jason. I was afraid of Amanda.
Yeah.
You got to watch her. Okay, so the next thing I got, these are all Oxford automobiles. This is a 1957 Mercury Montclair in tuxedo black.
Ooh, nice.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So, and that is the plastic wrapping.
Now that was part of your haul, correct?
Yes, this is part of my haul.
Now, what did you pay for that? If you don't mind me asking. Did you get a good deal on it? Yes.
But I
don't know
get
what current new prices are.
I think it's around 12.
too. So.
Oh, okay. That makes it. Yeah, that's
What?
real good. You got 50% off on.
Oh yeah, then you got a good deal.
That's a good deal.
No. 10%.
10. Oh, 10.
That's still a good. It's still a good deal.
That puts it down around the
12,
current going weight.
$12.
I know. 2 years ago, you used to be able to get them for $10.
Yeah.
But here
Yeah,
lately, within the last year, everything is
like $12.95 or something like that is what
right,
new ones are going for.
I don't know the year model on this one, but this is a Lincoln Continental, Darien blue and tan.
Oh yeah, that's late 40s.
Yeah,
early
definitely
50s.
fits my era, and it's even got the
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And it doesn't say on the box what year it is.
Nope.
Most of them do, huh?
That one does not.
That's strange. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, normally Oxford's good about putting a year on it.
yeah.
All right, and then this one is a 1955 Buick Century, and then it says Carlsbad black, Windsor gray, and Dover white.
Oh, that's sharp.
That is nice.
So
very nice. Yeah, I'm trying to keep.
Heath, if you would have been here earlier, you would have found out that I was on my Microsoft Surface that is not very video capable. I mean, and it broke up, and I got booted out twice. So I just moved over here to be on John's with him.
all right, and then
I drove all the way from Oklahoma just so I could be on video with John.
Yeah, it was a special.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So the last thing I got is 2 of the weathering sponge brushes. I got a fine and a medium. So
okay.
Probably see them a little better if I do the backside.
Are they just makeup brushes?
And then they're longer. I don't know. It's from Tamiya.
I used to use
so you paid
makeup just like those
that
my wife gave me. So
yeah, it could be. As far as the scale of the Oxfords, they're right there on the center.
Yeah, 187.
Yep.
And they are pretty good too. But I tell you, I've tried a lot of my Oxfords. Boy, you got to modify people to get them to fit in there.
You got to amputate the legs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I was thinking like with this one here, I'm probably going to park this one at a house.
Mm-hmm.
So that way I don't have to modify anybody to fit in it.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as like, these here, I'm not going to put anybody in them.
Yeah. Well, I
don't put anybody in the only ones I use are the convertibles.
Yeah, I've started putting people in ones that I know are going to be on roadways and not in a parking lot. Any ones that I put in a parking lot, I'm not going to put people in.
Yeah.
So right now I have 0 roadways. So.
And you can go to Oxford's website. All of the cars they have, they got the website where it does group down like within era. So like if you want 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, so on and so on. And each of the cars that they make, they do multiple paints, colors. So,
Right.
I mean, you can get, 3 of the same vehicle, but they all be different.
Right.
And so I've noticed Oxford makes.
See, I've been getting a lot of my vehicles from Caboose Stop Hobbies.
Yeah.
And
on their Wednesday night ones, and you just got to be pick and choose.
Yeah.
Hey, younger Steve.
Yeah, off with their legs.
Yeah, I notice when I went to Zetnick's all the time, which is still my favorite hobby store. They're not sponsoring me at all, but anyway, they always had their display of their cars separated by a 10-year decade period. So it was easy to pick them out, but I still had to stop and look at the back and make sure they were mid to 40s to early 50s in that time period. I know I can use older cars, but been trying to stay around that era.
I go up to 68 or 69.
So you got it a little easier than we do. They don't make a lot of cars in my time period.
Yeah, Oxford, they're probably the vendor that makes the most for our time period. 70s, I think there's more manufacturers that make in the 70s than any other era.
Right. Yeah.
If you don't mind painting, Sylvan does a lot of old stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're resin cast.
Yeah.
And get a
and
chrome
that would be
paint
okay
pen
for me if I had my layout mostly built, but I still have a long ways to go with my layout. That, like, right now, I'm not trying to pick up extra projects. So
same here.
I got drawers filled with models and projects for the same reasons.
Yeah.
It's like me, I must have 30 buildings.
58.
So,
what time period are you looking for? Steve wants to know. Oh, Jason replied.
Jason already answered. Yeah.
58. Okay.
Don't worry, Steve has a lag in normal time too, and not just on the computer.
1958 was a very good year.
Yes. Have fun walking the dog. Hopefully it isn't raining there.
Take care, Anthony.
See you, Anthony.
I couldn't think of a better year to model, Jason.
Well, so originally, me and John Arthur, we're really close friends. And he modeled 1960. And so he convinced me when I picked an era to do something similar so we could send, rolling stock back and forth between our layouts. And so I originally did 1960, and then I started doing the research on things, and I was like, I would like to run passenger on the layout. Well, so I looked up Cotton Belt Passenger. Well, the last train ran in 1959. So I'm like, okay, I'll back it up a year. So for a little while, I said 1959. And then I was doing some more research on the passenger locomotives. And the Cotton Belt FP7 was the very first Cotton Belt locomotive to get the bloody nose paint scheme. And that happened in 1959, like early 1959. And I have one, that Athearn Genesis did, and they did it in 3 different variations, but they did not do it in bloody nose before, for a year on the Cotton Belt lines, and then it got sent out to California on the SP. And I was like, you know what? I really don't want to repaint that. So I was like, why don't I just back it up to 1958? So that's what I did. So I've got the 2.
But you can't back it up any further.
No, I'm not backing it up any further, because then that's just going to change how I've got stuff done and whatnot. But I've got, the 2.
You could have a woman woman with a baby in a baby carriage, and that could be me. I was born in '58.
Yeah, but you was up in Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my mom is from the Boot Heel of Missouri.
Well, unless she plans on
Marston.
going to Wiener for some reason.
Well, family was over in Hoxie.
Okay.
So,
Well, Hoxie's not on the Cotton Belt.
well, hey.
Hoxie would have been the Mopac.
How about Paragould?
I think Paragould is also Mopac.
Batesville?
That would have been the White River route of the Mopac.
Never mind then.
Paragould might have been Cotton Belt. I would have to look at Paragould. It's either one or the other, because the Cotton Belt and the Mopac, they both ran as competitors to each other from St. Louis to Dallas. And so their lines paralleled. And now that Union Pacific has both lines, instead of converting the traffic to double main because of how much freight they move, they use the Cotton Belt for all southbound traffic and the Mopac for northbound traffic from Texarkana up to St. Louis. It's actually, I think, Dexter, Missouri. So.
Well, and the reason I chose my time period was because I like steam and I like early diesel. And it gave me the opportunity to tell my wife that, hey, it's the time period. I need steam and I need diesel engines. So, yeah.
In the CB&Q, the steam stopped on long passenger service in like 54 or something like that. But it stopped on commuter service in 57. And then they had excursion service to 69.
Okay. Yeah. The CNEI ran their steams up until about 1955 is when the last one was scrapped. So.
Yeah, I think it was 54, 55 for Burlington too.
Yeah.
For passenger, like going to interstate.
Yeah.
The last scheduled freight was on the CNI with the consolidation that 641 that Lynn gave me. And I forgot what year that was. 54, 55, somewhere there. Yeah. I forget.
So, I wanted the opportunity to have the later steam and the early diesels, which I've got some GP35s, but I only run them occasionally. So, the rest is steam and diesel.
So for me, I'm gonna have very little steam, mainly for random excursion services. That's why I still have my cab forward. I have a Southern Pacific Light Mountain, which is a 482 for those wanting to know the wheel classification on it. And then I do have my brass L1 Northern, which is a 484, but it's got to get painted and decaled, so it's going to go down to Texas Train Works along with this guy to go get painted, properly painted and properly decaled. And then one of the things I got to find out is on the brass locomotive is how is Blue Nami going to work? The Bluetooth being inside of a brass tender. So plastic doesn't really have much interference, but I'm a little concerned about the brass. So that's something I plan on talking to George. I might try to get him later today and just see if they found anything about that.
You've got a Blue Nami decoder. Right?
Well, I've got one for EMD, but not for steam.
Yeah, just put it in a metal box.
and try it. See if it gets signal.
Yeah, but I would have to retrofit the tender, the pickup on it, because for those who have not used brass steam locomotives, the tender only
No.
picks up one rail, and then the locomotive picks up the other rail. And so I would have to go in there and wire it up and stuff. And right now, I don't really
So
want
even
time on it.
on a Blue Nami, you still have to have powered rail.
Either that or battery,
Yeah.
and then I could do dead rail.
Try a battery and just put it in a metal toolbox or something,
Yeah,
and see if you can get it to
to
connect.
work.
Hmm.
I could try that and see, like, if it was in something like this, it wouldn't really matter because, see, this has a lot of windows.
Right.
Right.
So this is not that big of a deal, but, a tender has no windows. So
Now, the Blue Nami, does it have a wire for the Bluetooth that you could
Bluetooth
maybe
it's hard built onto the decoder.
so there's no kind of antenna for it. It's
No,
just internal. Okay.
It's an SMD antenna.
I was thinking maybe that you could possibly put an antenna on the decoder and have it sticking out of the tender.
Yeah, but then it wouldn't look right.
Well, but you wouldn't have to see much of it,
Yeah.
Even if you ran it up into a coal load. Does your tender have or no, that's oil, isn't it? For
Yeah,
your
it's oil.
tender.
It's oil.
Yeah.
So
okay, that won't work.
all of my steamers are oil based. And I also have an Alco rotary snowplow that I did put Tsunami 2 in, and it's also has an oil tender. So and that would be fun.
Robert says it'll work in a steam engine.
Yeah. See, all my steam engines are coal because Indiana had a lot of coal fields, and the CNEI was a majority of their trains are made up of coal loads. So there were quite a few mines outside of Terre Haute where there were some minor railroad lines that went out to it.
All throughout central and southern Illinois is coal.
Yeah.
Strip and underground.
Yeah. Most of Indiana was underground.
Yeah.
But I've got in my CNEI track layout schematic, they had quite a few short lines that went out to the coal fields around Terre Haute.
And everybody knows about Union Pacific and the coal fields of Wyoming. Well, the CB&Q also had those same coal fields.
Yeah.
So I have quite a few coal cars. I've got more than I can run on this layout, that's for sure. So, this is a stopping point if I ever able to get my train shed. Then I'll be able to run longer trains. So right now, I think I've got enough coal cars that would fill up the main line. So it'd be nose to tail going around the place. Because this room here is 16 by 14. So, but it only goes to the end on the one wing on this side. So basically the layout's 14 by 14-ish.
Square footage you got as much or more than I had in Riverview.
I don't know. You had the
9 by 22, but you don't have the doors and stuff that I had to deal with. All your doors are on one side. Mine was all the way around the room.
Yeah.
I mean, John, you're running what, mostly 40 footers, 36 footers?
I have some, coal cars are the biggest is a 36 footer.
Okay, so, I mean, you could run 20, 30 of those cars, and that's going to look like a really good train on your layout.
Yeah, it'd go about halfway around my layout, though. Yeah.
Even 10 or
Well,
12, you're going to be good.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
20.
Yeah.
would
No,
good.
that'd look good. It,
When you really think about like the old eras, back, especially when, the brakemen's had to go from car to car to car to, slow trains down. They didn't have air brakes. They didn't have, not all the railroads had radio control. And
Right.
so if the engineer said, "Hey, I need
Right,
you to go
John.
brake the train," he would send the front brakeman out of the locomotive and he would climb over the tender and start moving. Well, the rear brakeman or the trainman or the conductor is sitting up in the cupola, keep an eye on that front brakeman. So that way, once he sees that the front brakeman is starting to slow cars up, he hops out of the caboose and starts slowing the cars up from the backside of the train.
Yeah. Yep. I got.
So the trains had to be short enough that, the caboose could always see the locomotive.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I got plenty of cabooses.
Yeah.
Because every one of my trains will have a caboose except a passenger train.
And then when they went to air brakes, that kind of, made it to where they can make the trains longer. They started reducing staff. You'd only have one brakeman. He could either ride in the caboose or he could ride in the locomotive. And so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. It's, John sheds 16 by 12. Yeah, that's good. I was looking originally at a 40 by 14 because at the time that was the biggest one I could find that was pre-built and they could move in. But I talked to a gentleman at one of the hobby shops I go to, and the Amish make a 16 by 48. That's the same price as the 14 by 40. So now, which would you get? I'll get the 16 by 48. Yeah.
16 by 48 because you could put a peninsula in it and still, when you're running layouts around the wall, you don't need to go no wider than 24 inches for the most part. Yeah. Unless you're doing like a yard area and you do want it wider, but then you need it like separated from the walls so that way you can do switching from both sides. Because anytime you try to go more than 24 inches, when you're looking at your horizontal reach, then you start leaning into the layout, and that's where you can start damaging a lot of the scenery and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's my center peninsula is 5.5 feet wide. So I would work everything from that because I want to keep, when I did move, I would want to keep this because my roundhouse is going to be on it, which is going to be 21 stalls now instead of 18.
You've got your bypass on each side. You wouldn't want to train longer than that anyway.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The two corners that way are both double tracked. So,
but yeah, I mean, so 14 feet wide. If you think about it, you could have, 2 foot wide bench work along, the length of the shed. You would have 3 foot aisleways and then 4 feet of bench work of a peninsula.
Yeah.
And then, make it.
That would work for everything but my 210
Isn't your shed 14 feet wide as well? I know it's not 48 feet long. I want to say Robert's is like 14 by 30.
We're both freezing.
Yeah, Robert's is 14, I think.
Yeah, 14 is still a good.
12, if you want, wide turns, 12's tough.
You could do it in a 12.
Again, you want like 5.5 feet. I'm sorry,
okay, so I was close. Robert's is 14 by 34. So
Yeah,
if you
14 will
get
work.
a 14 by 48, you can do roughly the same type of blueprint that Robert's doing. And
If you can get a 14-foot into the backyard,
yeah,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with
he doesn't
that.
have a problem, but I do.
Yeah, my house is on 10.79 acres. I've got plenty of space to get any size building in I want.
I went
Well,
out and measured,
so
and
JD,
on
I got a question.
the house, I got like
You're
13
Well-
feet. And I said, all right, I can put that 12-foot shed, even with the overhang, I could get it in there. And then I looked out front and I got brick mailbox, and my next door neighbor has a brick mailbox. So there's no way to get a 12-footer through there.
as far as your peninsula goes, with it being 2 foot wide, that would be a stub end peninsula. When you look at Robert's peninsula, that is 4 feet wide, his main line actually goes down the peninsula and then curves around. He actually has it wider at the end of the peninsula, so that way he can get the a bigger radius.
Mhm.
And then the main line goes back down the other side of the peninsula with the divider in the middle. So, I mean, yeah, with the small area, you can have a stub-ended peninsula and it would work great. You could even make your peninsula a Y per se, so you could, turn trains around. And that's what Drew from the White River route was doing on his layout, which I know he's taking a break from YouTube right now. For those who are wondering about Drew, I talked to Drew a few months ago, and so if you got, I'm not saying if you have a small area you can't have a peninsula, because you could. It's just you're not going to be able to run mainline through the peninsula. So let me clarify that.
Well,
you
You could do a
you could
stub in front
could,
yard or passenger station.
or have your wall shelves narrower at the end of your center peninsula, so you could have a bigger return curve coming back.
Right.
I've seen that done before.
Right.
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, anything you do, it's give and take.
Mhm.
But the thing is if you're going to use a peninsula, especially a really long peninsula, you definitely want to use it for mainline running, so that way your trains get a longer length to run.
Mhm.
Because if that shed's 48 feet long, well, think about it. If you're using that peninsula that's, let's say, 40 feet long, right?
Mhm.
To do mainline running, well, you really added 80 feet
Right.
of mainline running on your layout.
Yes.
And then
And even that's what I did in this room, even though it's a small room, I still have the center peninsula that's 10 feet long.
right.
So there's still 10 foot times 20 foot of extra running distance than just not having a center peninsula, or just making it a stub in peninsula, which is what I was thinking about doing before I decided, well, I want to be able to run my 210-2. So I'm going to I added a foot on one side and 6 inches on the other side. So,
Yeah.
5.5 foot, I've got 30-inch radiuses on that end going around the roundhouse, which, it's a good place to put it, because that, it blocks sight there when you're looking at it.
So, how wide are aisles? I've always operated on 3-foot wide aisles.
Well, it all depends on whether you're going to be running yourself.
See, Robert's saying 18 to 2 feet wide. Oh, that's peninsula.
Yeah.
But how wide are aisles?
Well, these aisles,
The minimum you want
3
for an
feet, 2.5
is
3, that's
24 inches.
2.5.
The minimum, the absolute minimum you want for an aisleway is 24 inches, and that's tight. I always recommend 30 to 36 inches for your aisleways.
Well, and Jason, that also depends on whether you're going to have people over to do operating sessions. If you're just by yourself,
That's
a
what I thought.
2-foot aisle is fine.
Yeah.
Because you're not having to pass somebody.
Right. So
Now,
like over at Robert's, I'm going to pick on Robert because he's a good friend of mine. So I can do that. So if I'm operating over at Robert's and I need to pass him and we're both like working in the same aisle, like he could be working in the yard trying to build a train. I'm working over at the paper mill, which is on the opposite side of the aisle from the yard. Well, if I have to pass him, one of us has to go to one end of the shed or the other end, so that way we can walk around each other. And that's because his aisles are very narrow. He's got 2-foot aisles. If his aisles were a little bit wider, maybe 2.5 feet, we could probably squeeze around each other.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, see, and then my layout is set up. The top is at 53 inches, so the bottom of my fascia is the 45 inches. So Steve and I could both turn our bellies outward, and we could pass on this aisle. On that, because our bellies would be under the
they'd be under here.
Yeah, so that you got to gain extra space there. Yeah.
So Robert, you already know I'm on a diet. It's just a seafood diet. If I see food, I eat it.
Yeah, me too.
Probably not the best diet.
Yes, it's but again, I'm probably not going to ever have anybody over here for an operating session regularly. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's regularly or not.
But again, the other aisle is only 24 inches wide.
I'll tell you this: when I'm doing designs for my customers, I always.
But you're not. You're not a split peninsula either.
No.
Robert's got a backdrop down the middle of his, so you can't do one side from the other. You have to.
Yeah.
So you can do anything in your peninsula from either side.
Correct. Yes.
Right. So I guess like when I work with my customers to do layout designs, I always try to do 36 inch. Always. And then if the customer says, no, I'm good with 30 inch, then I'll narrow it down to 30 inches. But I'll always try to at least do 36 because you never know when a friend's going to come over. And it doesn't matter if it's an operating session or if it's a layout where, trains are running in circles, like a rail
Welcome back, Andy.
You still want people to be able to get by each other.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And if I am able to get that 16-foot wide, that'll be no problem. I'll have 36-inch aisles and still have enough space for what I want to do. Of course, I'll probably never complete it at my age. I'm gonna be 60.
Actually,
64 this year.
The code for the egress and aisles varies based upon the designed occupancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It depends on cities and state as to what the codes are.
Yeah. Besides, it's a hobby.
Well, that's the fire code's based upon NFPA standards.
We have no codes out here in the country. This house didn't even have a building permit.
You do have codes; they're just not applied.
No, right? Yeah. And Heath, no, I don't have many friends. That is true, especially friends.
John, when you bought that house, you didn't have to have an inspector come out and inspect it.
Yeah, no,
not if you're in the county.
Yeah.
Well, you do in Arkansas.
Well, I did for. The only thing I had to have them do is come out and check my decks. If anybody knows me, I used to design boardwalks for Pinellas County, Florida, when I worked for Public Works. And I knew right away that it wasn't going to pass. So the former owner and I got underneath there and put $750 worth of Simpson strong ties all over the front and back deck. And
Oh,
then
wow.
the engineer that came out to inspect it took some pictures from a distance and said it was good. That was the only thing that had to be inspected. So, yeah, it lot less county involvement in any kind of buildings out here whatsoever.
Well, I'll tell you this. So the Amarillo Railroad Museum, which has a club-size layout in it, they're always, I'm trying to remember, I want to say is like 60 inches wide.
That's good. Yeah.
You know, but
Even big boys
also a
can
club
pass.
layout too.
Yeah. Even big boys can pass on that.
The Oklahoma City Model Railroad has real wide like that as well, because it's technically a museum.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
when they do op sessions and whatnot, it allows two people to be operating opposite of each other and enough room for someone to walk in between.
Yeah.
Without disturbing.
Without rubbing butts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll find 32. Steve's pointed out some good info.
Yep.
32, you find like going in the bathrooms sometimes, or closets. 36 is pretty standard for interior doorways, and 42 is the recommended, like getting a modern day refrigerator through.
Yeah, so
you'd have a tough time with 36 inches.
My interior, so my front and back door to my house, and even the door that comes into the train room, because this used to be a garage, these are all 42-inch doors. The rest of the doors in my house are all 36 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't live in the city. I live in the county. I even still have a septic tank. So
I'm on septic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this house was built in 2006. It's a modular home. It's not a mobile home. It's a modular home.
Right.
It's built real well. 2x6 wall studs. You know, it's built well. And all my doors, the biggest door is a sliding glass door. Of course, it's 4 foot wide, I guess. But you know, all the interior doors are standard 32 or 36. So
that's 36 there.
Yeah, that's a 36.
But those are 32s.
Right. But yeah, it's built well. I'd even thought about, instead of buying a shed, is actually do an addition out this back wall here and do an L shape on the house and having my train room there. And actually, if I went that direction, because of the slope on my property, I could actually have a basement in that section. So,
and then you could just build a helix down to the basement.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. I'm still waiting for Steve to tell me I have to run my train out on my back porch, because my back porch is 16 by.
Put it out the window. You got a window right there.
Well, that's where
send
the
it out.
Train shed would go over there.
Yeah, put the train shed. You run right into the train shed.
Outside. Yeah.
Hey, yeah, you could build a train tunnel.
Oh no, I'd build a trestle out over the open and run it out there. Yeah, there's all kinds of things.
If it's raining, you don't want to send them out there on the trestle.
No, that's true. That's true. Now my G
and the other thing to watch when you're designing a layout is to spread out where the work jobs are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, you can minimize two opposite of each other.
Yeah,
that helps.
So, what made my design tricky,
or even the timing
in my train room, is right above my head is the attic access.
Yeah.
If that wasn't there, then I would not be building the design that I'm building. So sometimes, obstructions like that can get in the way.
Yeah. And I had also thought about, instead of doing that addition, is to convert my attic into a train room, because my house is 80 feet long.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't be able to
And
do that because my pitch is too low.
oh,
So
I got a high pitch.
I can't even stand up there.
I've got about 12 foot from the top of the rafters to the pitch, so I could probably utilize half the attic as a train room.
Oh,
But
that would be probably cheaper than buying a shed.
The problem with that is the way these houses are made, since they are brought in two pieces, the truss system doesn't allow me to do that.
Yeah. It's not a
it's not an open
rafter system.
Yeah.
It's a truss.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I would have to put knee walls probably on the outer side, and then also double up the roofing rafter frame.
Those joists.
Yeah. So
see, Robert, mine's the same. Mine's a 412.
Yeah, mine, I'm not sure. I haven't measured it, but I wouldn't get on it.
Yeah, mine is every 4 inches it rises, it's a foot of run. So mine's got a real low pitch. The best attics to do that in, especially if it's not a truss type system, and I think mine's a truss too. So there's no way I could get a layout up there, and I mean I'm not going to be on my hands and knees just to run trains either.
Yeah.
You would at least need probably, I would say maybe an 812 roof, a steeper pitch, so that way the center goes up. You might be able to get away with the 612.
Yeah.
And I don't know, mine might be a 312. Like I said, my pitch is not very steep.
Yeah.
So
mine, I need to measure my roof sometime to see what pitch it is. I can't just look at it and say what it is. I have to get up there and measure it. But
Steve, I agree with that statement. Steve P. Staff, I agree with that.
Yes.
Right after Snowmageddon happened, and that's a term, I know y'all people up in the north, y'all are used to getting feet of snow every year, especially up in the upper Midwest, the like upper New York, New England area, from the lake effect snow and all that. Down here, this far in the South, we do not get a lot of snow. And in 2021, we just got dumped and dumped of snow. And, with the garage door, there was a gap this wide at the top of the garage door, and birds were flying in to get out of, the snow to try to find shelter. Well, and they called my layout home, and that was the last layout I had, and there was bird crap everywhere. Luckily enough, none of it landed on any of the buildings because I didn't have a lot of buildings out. I think I lost 2 buildings. I just threw them in the trash. I said, I'm not fooling with that. And they were cheap kids anyways. So
you mean
locomotives and rolling stock got hit, so that was a good thing.
You mean the bird crap wasn't scale?
No.
It could look good if it was scale.
Pterodactyl.
It was 1-to-1. Okay.
So if you really want to be theoretical as to how it was meteors. I got the layout got hit with meteors. So there's the opposite of craters on the layout. So me and my wife, we had a long discussion, and I mean, I got 2.5 acres, so I've got plenty enough room to put in a train shed. I might have to remove a couple of trees to do so, but I've got plenty of room. And it was actually her idea and said, wouldn't it be cheaper if you enclose the garage? Because we park our camper right out in front of it anyway. So we've never used this for vehicles ever since we lived here. She said, would it be cheaper to enclose it? And I said, actually, you know what? It would be. And I said, all I got to do is rip out all the sheetrock off of one wall and insulate it. And then, of course, the little bit of sheetrock around the garage door, because it was a double car garage door. And so that's what we did. We put in a frame, and I actually had the videos of all this. You know, we put in the frame and we took the door out, framed it, and then, you know, insulated it, sheetrocked it. And so if you're standing on the outside of the house, it just looks like the wall just continues with no windows, because I did not want any windows. If I ever end up selling this house, I can, you know, if they want to put windows in, fine, they can put windows in. But the other thing that I could say that this room would be good for is a theater room.
Yeah.
You know, it's right off to the kitchen, so you got your.
Didn't you skim coat the floor too?
No, it's still concrete. I was looking at maybe putting laminate flooring in here, but if I was to do that, I would have to take this wall out here and shorten the studs, because I put it on bare concrete. So, and I don't want to put a floor in around it. So,
did you work with your taper? Because most garages have a 1/4-inch taper.
I think he skim
got
coated
a taper. So when I built the bench work, I did not use a tape measure off the floor, except for the wall that I'm actually facing, because that's the wall that's adjoined to the house. Behind me would have been where the garage door was. So this is the only spot where I started with the tape measure. And then from there, I use a 4-foot level when I'm building the bench work around the whole room.
Yeah.
Because the garage floor is not slanted back, but it's also slanted to the center.
Oh, yeah.
So that way you didn't have water pull up in the corners of the room.
Yeah, see, in Florida, my training room had been converted into a bedroom, and the requirements were it had to be the same elevation as the house. So I poured 6.5 cubic yards of concrete in it to make it all the same level.
Hey, Randy.
Now my neighbors didn't do that, and they still passed. I don't know how they did that, but I did it correctly.
because the inspector probably
Didn't ever go in there.
didn't.
Yeah.
I started to put in some floor leveler in there, in the center, because I didn't want the dip, in the center. So I did put some floor leveler in there, but I mean, you can't really tell. There's a dip there.
I thought you skim coated it.
It's only a 2-degree pitch, so it's very, very off, just barely off level. So looks like Randall popped in for a second.
Yes.
You switch your camera and watch this guy run.
Well, I shut it off because it goes off Wi-Fi and.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, too much Wi-Fi going on at the same time, but yeah.
We can wrap this up so I can get you up and running.
Yeah. Well, it's when I don't even know what time it is.
It's noon.
It is noon. Oh wow.
Been on for an hour and a half.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we want to thank everybody for joining us on our road trip.
It's been
Who
good.
knows that the retirement railroad may show up at a layout near you.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe with better Wi-Fi or a better computer, one or the other.
Well, hey,
Well,
Steve, if you ever
once I
show
got
up
on this
with a computer, at least I have a laptop.
it worked out fine.
Very good.
All right. Well, hey, thanks everybody. Have a great weekend. Heath, I might surprise you someday.
Yeah.
We're planning an I-40 road trip to Amherst in January, and Jason's confirmed. John's pretty positive, and then Robert Flying Crow's been invited too, even though he doesn't live on I-40.
Yeah, he's I-20, but close enough.
Yeah. Yeah, just double as far.
So yeah. Well, Robert and I would both meet at Jason's. and then we'd pick you up as we drove by. We'd open the door and you'd have to jump in.
Okay, save the
Try.
best for last. Yeah. But I am, 6.6 miles off 70.
Hey,
Yeah.
Heath, I used to go to La Crosse, Wisconsin on business all the time.
Yeah.
So
Very good.
anyway, you all have a great day.
Take care.
Joe,
all.
I'm getting on top of it. I promise. So I'll go live when I start working on yours. How about that?
If Steve can get up, he'll go shut it off.
Yeah, I gotta shut it off over here.
Y'all have a good day.
See, that's why. See, you got to get Steve to set you up as a co-host, John, so that way you can end live.
Yes, yeah. We're working on things.
Yeah,
So
we'll get